Hello and welcome to the Mindset Lounge with Morgan. I'm your host, Morgan Eldred, and this is your space for self-improvement and success. This conversation is a good one, especially if you've ever wondered what goes on inside the mind of somebody mid-marathon. Annabelle is just a girl who loves to do it all. We talk about what it takes to push your limits, why rest matters just as much as discipline, and how she manages to balance HYROX, training for a marathon, coaching, social media, and everything in between. But a quick note. If you've been loving these conversations and you're ready to start building better habits, then this is your sign to check out my one-on-one coaching. You'll find all the info in the show notes below. Now let's get into the episode with Annabelle. Thank you for coming on. I'm excited because I was having a look and trying to find some of you on podcasts. And I was like, there's not much out there, no. Which is good. Yeah. Do you like sharing a lot of your stuff online, like in more depth?
Yeah, I do. I think I do it more in captions, but it's nice to actually, be able to articulate stuff because I love when girls, have questions or something. I'm more than happy to really just share everything because I know how frustrating or hard it can be when you're in the middle of something. And so gone through, so many different stages, if I can kind of give guidance and reassurance to people who are in that now, then I will more than happy to help and tell my story.
I love that. Well, you've got a mini series on Instagram that I just saw the other day, the Do It All series. Yeah. And from the outside, you are doing it all. You've got coaching.
I've got way too much.
Marathons, HYROX, everything. So how do you actually do it all?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like if you go from 0 to 100, that's going to end in disaster. You can't do that. But I think growing up, I went from a very sporty background to then going into more functional training, conditioning, strength, building that base, and then really got into running start of last year when I was kind of documenting my marathon prep. The year before that, I did some half marathons to kind of ease into it. And then I think when I was building the base for my marathon, I kind of went all in on running and then the strength kind of fell back a bit. And then after the marathon, I kind of implemented both and then just worked out, because I already built the base before the running and then I built the running without doing the strength. And so I kind of built both bases independently. Yeah. And then after I had that, then I'm kind of can work out how to include both sort of thing.
Yeah. What did it look like when you kind of went, okay, I'm going to do a marathon? What were the first thoughts there?
Why am I doing this? So I did a couple half marathons and my parents are very sporty, like they've been runners their whole life. They do a lot of triathlons, my brother included. So growing up, I just thought that was, normal. I was never the long distance type runner. Like I did short, sharp sprints. I did touch football, which is short, sharp bursts of energy. Long distance and just sustained pace running, that was awful to me. Like I couldn't think of anything worse. And then I think once you stop the group sport and stuff, you kind of look for something else. And that's when I turned to the gym. But then I kind of got a bit bored of that and I was like, oh, what else can I do? And then, started running. And once my mum and dad saw me, doing a few half marathons, mum messaged me. She's like, hey, so I was thinking, do you want to do the marathon together next year? I was like,
cool.
What do you No, not really.
Can't say no to your mum, though.
She's like, no, we doesn't have to be fast. We can just, cruise it and stuff. Oh, not really. She said, no, it'll be fun. And then I was like, oh, okay, yes. And then I think because she lives, 3 hours away from me. So we're both kind of training for it independently. And I was like, oh, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right. I'll get a coach. I'll listen to him like religiously and just do exactly what he tells me. And then, ended up doing it. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I just did that. It's a long way.
It is such a long way. And you're right. Like, I think long just distances, it can feel a little bit like monotonous. And I feel like that's why we get turned off it. But I think when you start to see progress in anything, you kind of get excited. What was it like having parents who were super sporty as a kid? Did you just enjoy doing sport as a kid, or did you feel like you kind of had to because they also did?
Yeah, I think growing up, I kind of, same thing I'm doing now, just on a different level. I just said yes. I just wanted to try everything. And yeah, I just enjoyed doing different things, seeing, learning new skills and that sort of thing. Even though it wasn't what my parents did. Obviously, my dad grew up playing touch, and that's kind of what got me into touch a little bit more. And it's cool to be surrounded by that growing up, because I think it's really important, because you see it as, just a part of life rather than, something you have to do, sort of thing.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, because I think when you don't have sporty parents or you haven't really been introduced to sport as a kid, you do see it as sort of like an outside kind of thing. If fitness is like not just a part of like life, and that's really cool. Did you feel like any pressure ever to live up to sort of their results or how they wanted you to live?
I think before I got into running, there was, I kind of felt like the outsider a little bit, because my brother, he did the long distances. He did really, really well in that. And I was kind of like the black sheep who was, in the gym, and I was like, no, I'm not running. And so, being a massive topic of conversation whenever I would, hang out with my dad and my brother and that sort of thing, they'd obviously talk about their running and stuff, and I just sit there like twiddling my thumbs, like I've got nothing to say because I hate running.
Yeah.
And so it was nice when I did start getting into it, I could be a part of those conversations, because I kind of knew what was going on and kind of had my own experiences to go off. Yeah.
So it's nice now though, because you are kind of like the queen of hybrid, and you've kind of merged both, which is cool. You get to do the things that you loved, like, gym and fast paced stuff. And then you've also got this other incorporation of like long distances, which is what you kind of got into later. Did you have like an identity shift when you were moving from being like a sport kid to like I don't know, an endurance kind of athlete?
I think signing up to events is kind of like my sport, I guess. I think I would be a bit lost if I didn't have things to, train for, if I was just, going to the gym just for the sake of going to the gym. It keeps it fun, exciting. And I think growing up being in a team sport environment, I love the sense of doing exercise with others, and that's why I love still going to classes and doing it with friends and that sort of thing. And that's what really got me into training this sort of way, and also shifting my perspective, because when I was going to the gym in college, I would just go by myself, just do things for the sake of it, just leave, like not talk to anyone. It just was very different coming from a team sporting background, where you go to trainings and you train together, you laugh and that sort of thing. So when I found group training, it was kind of like the adult version of team sport, I guess. And then, when you do, say, turf games, and it's like a team of 6 and you all, spend time together and, compete together. It's fun.
It's cool. When I was a kid, I played a lot of team sport, but I did like athletics was like my main thing, and I always loved it because I wasn't like a team sport kind of kid.
Right, yeah.
And so like coming into bodybuilding is such a like, of course, because it's just like you and you only.
Yeah.
But recently I see all the run clubs and I'm like, oh, that actually looks really cool and fun. What about the community makes it really exciting?
I think it just takes away the pain of it, I guess, because you're all kind of dying together. So it makes it a little bit easier. And then I think with run clubs especially, you can rock up by yourself, not know anyone, kind of feel a bit odd at the beginning. But the run and then afterwards and the endorphins, it kind of softens the tension a little bit. And then by the end of it, you end up, talking to so many people, meeting so many people. Same thing with a group workout. When I first started, I was, the shy little girl who like just stood in the corner, didn't talk to anyone. But the workout itself, just softens it a little bit. And, especially if it's a team workout, you all die together, you kind of loosens the tensions a little bit and, walk away with some friends.
Yeah, you kind of, just like you were saying before, like go from that black sheep, you sort of feel like you don't know anyone. Then you have community. You have people that have the same interests.
Yeah, and then when you have that community, it makes you want to go to the gym because you know you're going to see this person and it's going to be less daunting as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think it's really cool having those group things and then moving that into like HYROXes where you've got a partner, you can push each other, train with each other. So then what about the marathons? Obviously you're in a group, but you have to do that. That's all on you.
Yeah.
How does that feel then?
So those, I remember last year, anyone who's done marathon training will know you get to a point in it about halfway and suddenly you're hitting at least a half marathon every single weekend. And it's just, it's shit. But you have to do it because you've locked in to this event. So I think, going out for those runs, and I did, 95 of those long runs by myself. I just, I knew I was going to be in pain. So I didn't want to bring someone along with me, and I knew I wanted or had to do it slow to get my heart rate down. And I find if I do it with someone, I get carried away and just forget about that. So it was a lot of time in my head. But I think if you can push through those uncomfortable situations, then it just, develops that mental toughness. And then so you do the hardest part in training. And then so when it gets to race day, it's just, 10 times easier because you're surrounded by a million people. So if you can do, a 3.5 hour run by yourself, hot, headphones in, just demons in your head, then when you get to race day, you're surrounded by a million people. I was running with my mum as well, had music, I was having an amazing time. I was like, why do I feel so good? This is so weird. Even though I was running like a minute and a half faster per K as well. It was, wild.
You've put that work in. So then take me into your mind when you're in the Hurt Locker, you're 2 hours into a run, you've still got an hour and a half to go. Like, what are you saying to yourself? How are you getting yourself through that?
I think when I did those long runs, most of them were time-based. And so I was like, you're going to be out here anyway. You might as well, one, slow down and actually enjoy it. I think that was a big one because if I put it as, well, I had a marathon coach at the time, but if I set it as a distance, then I'm like, oh, I just want to get this over and done with and speed up and, not enjoy it because I'm out of breath and just hurting the whole time. Whereas keeping it time-based, I think even if I sped up, there's no point because I'm out there for the same amount of time. So I might as well slow down, enjoy it.
Right.
And I think learning that taking a walk break is okay. Like it's fine. Even, for those who followed my marathon prep last year, my slow runs were all like 7-minute Ks. And I think a lot of people liked seeing that because online people, compare themselves and post all these ridiculously fast paces. And I think it was refreshing to see someone, actually slowing down and like running at 7-minute pace, which is slow or fast for some people, but it's just not posted about that much. Like 4-minute Ks is also almost seemed as the normal pace, which is definitely not. Like that's ridiculously fast.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, that's I've got so many questions there. I'm like, wow, so many new information. So how do you then, obviously with your running, you've got some days where you're going to do fast and some you're going to do slow. How do you mentally let yourself have those recovery days and not want to push really hard? And how do you not compare to those 4-minute runs?
Yeah. It took me a bit to, because running is an individual sport at the end of the day. And when you start comparing yourself to someone you see online, you don't know what stage of the journey they're in. So say myself, I was only, properly 1 year into running training. And if I look online and compare myself to that person, they could be, 10 years into their journey. And so it's really important to look back and just focus on yourself because you might be there in 10 years, but at the moment you're not. And I think, you just got to put those aside and just focus on you.
Yeah, I mean, don't compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 10.
Mm.
It's the same with, I mean, every single thing we do, right? Like
Mm.
you look at your business or your whatever it is and you're like, well, theirs is like this and they're doing this, but they probably had to go through the hurt locker as well a little bit.
Yeah.
So then when you are in those runs and things are getting hard, things are getting tiring, how are you getting yourself through those really tricky points where you know you have to keep going? You've got a time pace, you are feeling exhausted. What's like step 1 in your mind?
Yeah, I think I remember distinctly in the marathon prep, I think I had like a 33 or 35. It was like one of my longest runs in the prep, and I left it to a ridiculously hot time of the day because I just procrastinated doing it so much. And I remember I got to 30 Ks. I was like, I'm fucked. Like, this is awful. And I had, like 3 Ks to go. I was like, you've literally done 30 Ks. What is another 3? Like, it's, 20 more minutes. You can do that. Like, you've come this far, you might as well finish it off. So, yeah, I think that's what I think about when those times. And then when I'm doing, a faster run, it's weird, but I always say, like, time doesn't stop. Like, you might as well just keep moving and you'll get there eventually.
I love that. Is there a lot of self chatter when you are running, or do you sort of just try not to talk to yourself too much in your head?
I think maybe if I'm really tired, say like at the end of a HYROX or that sort of thing, there's a little bit, but I never talk negatively, definitely not. When, I think I just tell myself you're not actually hurting that much. Like, you're still keeping up. You can do it.
Yeah. It's a cool thing to think about, like when we go through these like hard moments and we're in these tough moments of like runs or for like weightlifting, whatever, the self-talk, when it's positive, it's so much more beneficial. Anytime we start to have that negative self-talk of like, you should be doing it like this, or you should be going faster or whatever, it just makes us perform so much worse, like instantly.
Yeah, there's no point in belittling yourself. You might as well, talk to yourself how you would talk to your best friend. Like, give them positive encouragement, because it will help. It'll do the same effect that it does to you. It'll do the same effect that it would for them for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Cheering on yourself just like you would cheer on your friend. If your friend runs past you at a marathon and they're going slower than their recommended pace, you're not going to be like, you should be going faster.
Yeah. What are you doing? Speed up. No.
Literally like, what are you doing? Yeah, we're like, keep going. Come on, you've got this. You've got this. And of course, then why are we like, when we're 30 seconds slower than the pace, we're like, you suck.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be doing this. Have you dealt with negative self-talk in the past then?
Not a lot when it comes to performance base, but when I was, I think, going through the body dysmorphia phase that a lot of people have also gone through, I think it's easy to pick yourself apart negatively like that. And I think that's where the performance-based aspect really helped me, because it shifted my mindset and made me stop focusing on that as much, and in turn made my self-talk more positive, because I was focusing on the weights and, I was like, oh, like you just did that, as if you just did that, rather than, oh, I wish, my waist was smaller, I had less body fat in this position. And yeah.
So tell me about that self-image then. Was there things that caused you to really pick yourself apart?
Yeah, I think it was, from ages 15 to 20, when not heaps of people were on social media, but it was also that time where, you just kind of wanted to be small. It wasn't as regular to see musclier girls and, strong girls online. And I would take, like progress photos like every week and be like, why is this not happening? Restricting diet. Like, I remember I went through a phase where I just cut out carbs completely, cut out fats completely and just, just veggies, just protein.
Fat.
Yeah. And like looking back at the photos then, I'm like, oh, I got so small and just no muscle on me either. And it's looking back, it's funny thinking about how my mindset was in that spot. Even though I was so small, you still think you have fat to lose, which is wild. Like I was, my leanest, I got down to like 10% body fat, which for a female, that's ridiculous. And I still wasn't happy. And so, yeah, it's just funny. If you constantly chase an image, you're never going to be, satisfied.
How did younger Annabelle see herself compared to how you see yourself now then?
Yeah, I think she'd be very proud of how far I've come in the body image. Like I don't for 2+ years I haven't taken any progress photos, which she'd probably be amazed at. Like I don't. Yeah, I just enjoy seeing what my body can do rather than what it does look like.
And so do you think switching into performance sports is what was the catalyst for that change?
Yeah, for sure. Because when I started the group training, I was, when I deadlifted, say, 60 kilos, I was like, I want to go heavier. And then just progressively, I had a notes app. I like every single time I went to the gym, I was like, oh, I hit this today. And I was obsessed with, being able to lift heavy. But then I think it also got to the point where, I stopped eating out because I couldn't track it and I didn't know what was in it, or, I wouldn't hang out with friends on the weekend because I had testing the next week and I was like, no, I want to be able to hit this and stuff. So I think it is still important to be able to practice balance as well, but it is also still good to have goals.
So then how do you balance the wanting more and always wanting to improve with also being like proud of yourself right here, right now?
I think for me, if I take something too seriously, then the enjoyment just disappears. I think if I still, enjoy the process and still like what I'm doing, then it helps me a lot. I think when so I got into when HYROX, started coming up, and I got offered to, fill in for someone and go to Worlds, and there was a bit of pressure, you got to start training this way, you got to train hard, you got to train twice a day, and I'm like, I don't like doing that. So, yeah, just continually doing what you actually enjoy and not taking it too seriously.
So do you then be really conscious about when it's sort of starting to tip into not enjoying and you would just kind of pivot, pull back a little bit?
Yeah, I think I would just reassess. Like I think with marathon training end of last year, I did have a specific goal. So I kind of let the enjoyment waver a little bit because it's like, I don't want to get injured. I'm just going to do exactly what he tells me to do. And then I finished the marathon. I did it. And all of last year, I was like, I am not confident. I am not liking the way I train. And I was like, what am I doing wrong? And then I started reintroducing the group classes again and realized, oh, that's what I do enjoy. Just because other people are, training solo, training this way, doing a specific thing, you don't have to do that.
Absolutely. I guess it's like there's seasons for it all though, right? Like there's going to be some seasons where you go, I'm going to go all in. I'm going to I really want to achieve this one thing. So like the marathon for you, and you probably still enjoyed it, but it was hard. And we can still enjoy the hard things, of course. And there's going to be seasons where we go, okay, I really just do want to find my love for it. With bodybuilding, I had a couple preps the few years ago where I didn't enjoy it. I was doing it all for outside reasons, external validation, and then I resented it. And then this time around, it's still just as hard, but I've really put an effort in doing it all because I want to and changing the language. And so even though it's just as hard, I'm like, no, I'm choosing to do this and I want to do this.
Yeah, doing it for the right reasons. Yeah.
And then I don't like, you see it all the time with bodybuilding, or I'm sure with people that run a marathon, like they run a marathon and then they're like, they resent it. They hate running. They'll never run again when, they probably just didn't have that joy part of it, which is tricky to find though.
Yeah. I feel like if you do it for the wrong reasons, then it's going to take the enjoyment out of it. After marathon training, I took a massive break because, I was doing it because I wanted to do it, or mum offered me to do it with her, and, I probably wasn't doing it for the right reasons. I was kind of getting sucked up in everyone else training for a marathon and that sort of thing. And even online, because I, documented the whole training block and a lot of people started following me for running. I also felt after that, I was like, oh, now I have to keep running because people will follow me for running, even though, I wanted a break. Like I didn't want to run that much anymore, but I felt like I had to keep sharing running sort of stuff. And so it's really good this year. I kind of, backed off a little bit and have started reintroducing running, but I'm running because, the love for it is there again. And I actually want to share and, doing it, for the right reasons.
How did you navigate that then when you had the runner identity and you did want to pull away? Because that's something I see happen all the time, especially, I'll keep going, it's bodybuilding, but with bodybuilders who have just been known for being a bodybuilder and then they do want to step away, but then they don't know how because they feel like people only like them because they're a bodybuilder.
Yeah. I think I just remembered that people like seeing, the reality, the rawness of it. And throughout marathon training, I shared all the highs and the lows and, that I was struggling towards the end. And I think at the end of the day, you just got to do what is right for you, regardless of, other people's opinion. And if, people want to be there to just genuinely support you, then they'll follow along the journey.
Do you struggle at all with keeping up appearances or feeling pressure to be a high achiever on your social media now?
I don't think so because I genuinely enjoy it. I think sometimes, when I feel like I'm not as fast or, as strong, then sometimes, and I think, oh, I should be faster, like all these people are so much faster, but then I just think, oh, that's okay because they can't, squat 100 kilos or that sort of thing. So I think I've learned to accept that.
Yeah. Did that come gradually, or is that a mindset you've kind of always had when it comes to socials?
I think with my mindset with socials, it's like a whole different ball game trying to share yourself online, especially like TikTok. TikTok is like wild.
I can't do it.
It's so different between the platforms. I think I'm very lucky that I don't get a lot of negative sort of stuff, which helps my mindset a lot.
Yes.
And makes me more comfortable sharing vulnerable things. I think, if I did get more negative, then I would tend to close off more. Maybe I don't sort of share that.
Have you always on your social media shared, has it just always been fitness for you?
So I think I just started out as, just anyone having an Instagram page. And then as my love for fitness kind of grew, I started, sharing a little bit more, and then people started just following, and I was like, oh, okay, people are following more for my fitness. Maybe I'll keep posting that. And then it kind of just, naturally progressed.
Yeah. So I guess your audience is probably just quite like, they know you for fitness as a whole, which is nice. So then, okay, so take me into, so we've done marathon, then you went into HYROX. Was the marathon before the HYROX?
Yeah.
So then what was the switch like when you were like, okay, I've done the long runs, now I'm going into like this new world. What did that feel like entering this because HYROX World right now is,
Oh, it's blown up.
it's amazing. It's
Yeah,
so
it's wild.
captivating and exciting. How did that feel?
Yeah, so I did my first HYROX in 2023, I think, before it kind of really hit the ground running in Australia. I had heard about it, and then my partner at the time, I was like, "Oh, let's do one." And yeah, it was really fun because essentially it's just, like a gym workout with, a bit more running in there. And so coming from the functional fitness background, like the stations, great. Stations are great.
Love that.
But it's always been the running that's, not been my strong suit. So after we did that first one, I was like, okay, this is fun. Now I want to improve my time. And I've done, 7 now. I've done a couple mixed, couple solos, couple double women's. And I think HYROX is blowing up so much because it's so accessible to everyone. Like, it doesn't take a lot of skill for the movements. And obviously, it's just a lot of running. So it's very accessible to people who, maybe are just started getting into it, and it's really good to have something to train for.
And as you said, the community part of it is incredible. The events, they just look so fun.
Yeah.
They're so high energy. They're really like they're capturing everyone's attention because not because of I guess what you guys are doing is incredible, but just the whole event is just so exciting. So what was like the first race? How did that go? What was your mindset? Were you like, okay, I want to beat my time? Did you then go, okay, I want to take this really, really far?
Yeah, so the first one I did was a mixed one, and anyone who's done one knows that mixed is a little bit easier for the girl because the guy kind of does most of the stations. And yeah, honestly, I didn't really know what to expect. I think because I'd done a lot of the slow, long stuff, and obviously HYROX is very, very different because it's, 1K intervals and it's very fast. And I think the more people who have found out about it, the more people are training for it. So everyone's constantly getting better and better, and it kind of makes you want to ride that wave and get better. And so when Cass and I went over to Perth and just competed, we had done 2 previously, and we just knew we wanted to beat our time, and we knew we'd kind of done the work and that sort of thing. And when we did it, we almost qualified for Worlds, which we were like, wow, that is wild. So even now being that close, now we're like, okay, now we want to get that. So I think it hooks you in. Once you do it, you're like, okay, now I want to be my time. Now I want to be my time again. It just constantly keeps bringing you back.
Yeah. What's it like having just one other person to compete with? Do you guys try to like kind of push each other? Do you guys try and stay, I'm just going to do my thing, she's just going to do hers?
Yeah. So going from a solo to pairs, obviously solo is just head noise the whole time. It's just like an hour and a bit of death. Whereas pairs, it kind of, one, you got to keep up with them. So it kind of makes you accountable, but also you have to have their back. They've got to have your back. So you got to kind of do your part, and you don't want to let them down, sort of thing. So I think Cass and I are good because we don't talk a lot during it. We just know that the other person is going to be there and they're going to show up for you.
And how did you find her? Was she just a partner from the gym?
So it's funny. So Cass is one of the people that I've followed since I was like 16, 17 or so. So she was kind of up there with one of like my fitness idols. There was like, Kelsey Wells, there was Chantel Duncan, Cass, Kayla Itsinas, Rach Dillon, and these were like, the girls.
Yes.
I was like,
the boss babes.
I want to do that. And so I met Cass. She launched an LSKD collection, and I went to the event and met her. And then after that, she messaged me. She's like, hey, so do you want to do a HYROX together? I was like, oh my God,
Fangirl.
yes, I do, please. And yeah, I actually just told her that story at Perth. She's like, oh my God, that's so cute.
I love that.
Yeah.
So tell me a story about the hardest part in one of the HYROXes. Like, take me into like the absolute death of it. What was going on? How'd you get out of it?
It was probably the second solo pro I did in Sydney. And it was during the wall balls, so the last station. And I pushed a lot harder on the run, so I was way more fatigued. And it's 100 wall balls at the end of it. I was like, oh my
How heavy is the
gosh.
ball?
6 kilos,
Okay,
I
so
think.
heavy.
So, I was going to say not too
That
bad.
100 times throwing that 6 kilos. That sounds gross, but
Yeah. So the previous one, I was like, oh, 10 sets of 10. And then I got to this one. I did the first 2 sets. And I was like, oh my God, I'm cooked. Like, this is awful. And I was like, you have to do it one way or another. So you might as well just try and keep moving. Like, you got no choice but to get it done. And like, I kept dropping the ball. I was like, oh my God, just pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. But yeah, I think it's those points where you can get it done. You just got to, try and not think about it too much, because the more you think about it, then the longer you'll prolong it. And yeah.
100%, 100%. It's the more you worry, I mean, it's not going to change anything, right? Like the cold water doesn't get any warmer if you delay jumping in. You just have to do it. And
Yeah.
as you just said before, the time just passes. Just keep going. Was there ever a moment in that moment where you're like, I'm done. I'm not going to be able to finish this?
I don't think I've ever really let myself think that. I think I've never really been to the point of exhaustion where I'm like, I literally have nothing more to give. And I think in those times, you just got to remember that. Like, you got to think, oh, am I dying? No, I'm not. I'm okay. I can do, 10 more reps. I can push another 2 minutes, like 2 minutes worth of your day. What is that? Like, you always have a bit more to give.
100%. When you think about it like that, I think about, so bodybuilding preps can be anywhere from like 14 to 24 weeks long. If you're in the first 4 weeks and if you're obsessing over the fact that you've still got 20 to go, it just makes the whole process awful.
Yeah.
But if you just focus on right now, like right in this moment, if I just get through this podcast and then the next part, rather than thinking, oh my God, I've got to do this today, this today, this today, then it becomes so overwhelming. It'd be the same with the wall balls, right? Like, just get this one wall ball done and then do the next one, rather than thinking, holy shit, I've got 77 to go.
Just do, 5, and then eventually you'll get there.
Yeah, and I guess same with the marathons. Like, just get through this next minute, then I'll get through the next minute, and you get there in the end.
Yeah.
So what's been the proudest moment of all of your kind of fitness endeavors so far?
Oh, probably the first marathon, just because that was something that was so unfathomable. And I would always say, I just can't do that. And I think it's really important to take that and be like, no, I just can't do that yet. Because, one day 10Ks was unfathomable. And then, okay, I've done 10. Maybe I can do 21. Okay, I've done 21. Maybe I can do 30, and then maybe I've done 30. Like, I think, what we were saying before, if you look at, if you can only run 5K and you're trying to think of running 42, it's going to be so overwhelming. Whereas, if you run 10, okay, I've done that. And then, okay, what's next? And slowly build it up. Your body adapts, but then also your self-confidence just increases as well.
Absolutely. I love what you just said then about the self-confidence. The more you prove to yourself that you can do those things, the more you take on those things, because you know you're capable, because you've proved it to yourself. I can do 5, then last week I could only do 4 or whatever it is, and then you can just see that progression working up. Have you always had the self-confidence within you to be like, if I put the work in, I will get the results?
With certain things, yes, but I think with running, I just always labelled myself not as a runner. So I didn't think I could do that. But again, it just comes down to that self-talk. You can do something if you really want to do it and you put in the work. Like, everything is going to be new and hard at first, but you slowly acquire the skill set to be able to do that, and it becomes less daunting.
Do you think posting on social media helped you with all of these like identity shifts, or do you think that actually caused more pressure or a little bit harder?
I think it was fine. I think when I got really lean, that's probably the time I kind of, it impacted me a little bit because, people start thinking of you as this person and this person looks a certain way and they follow you because you look a certain way. But when you realize that's, maybe not the best version of you and you try to fix that, then people are like, oh, like you don't look that way anymore. And I think that part of it is tricky.
What would you tell somebody who's listening who's kind of in that phase where they're at, like, they're lean, they want to chase more leanness, they don't really understand that like looking good and feeling good isn't the same thing? What would you say to these young girls?
I think there's more to life than being your smallest possible self. I think you got to take a moment to look in and really connect with yourself and ask yourself how you feel. Like, do you feel happy? Do you feel strong? Do you have energy when you got to do these certain things? And I think if any of them are a no, then yeah, you just got to realize that training, if you're, for example, if you're training and you're lacking energy or that sort of thing, you'll feel so much better having food in the tank. And yeah, it's so hard to go from that, coming from someone who has been in that situation. But it is, yeah, it's so worth it at the end of the day.
Do you think that step one would be taking the appearance out of it, or do you think step one would be more like putting the performance in? Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's all about the mindset. I think one, realize, do you actually like the way you're training? And if that's a no, then you don't have to do it. Like if you don't like running, you don't have to run because everyone else is running. And I think a lot of people especially are getting caught up in that now, like seeing everyone else run and thinking they should do that because that's the norm or that's what's trendy right now. But if you don't like running, you don't have to do it. You don't have to jump on the bandwagon. You can find something else you like. If you like boxing, you can do that. Because if you genuinely like the way you're moving, then you're going to stay more consistent. And when you're consistent, that's when the progress happens.
Absolutely. Just like what we were saying just before we started recording, like the more you focus on the performance and the enjoyment of it, you always end up looking better because you're more positive, you're fueling yourself better because you want to, rather than focusing on that. And it's the same with anything. When you don't enjoy it, you resent it. You just feel like you have to do it.
Yeah.
There's no effort, really. You're just getting through the motions, which is always tricky though. I find like even in the young girls starting out in bodybuilding, they're like, well, I'm doing it because I want to look like this. And like, well, do you enjoy the process?
Yeah.
Like, or I want to go to HYROX Worlds. Do you actually like?
Yeah. Do you just want to do that because that's what is like the thing right now, or do you generally enjoy the process of doing that? Because the process is what, 98% of the journey. So if you don't like that, if you're just doing it for the extra 1 or 2% at the end, then it's not going to be worth your while.
Definitely. And I like how you go about your social media though, because you post the wins and I love to see that, but you also post the training. You post how you're doing it, how you're feeling, the hard moments. And so as a viewer and people that are trying to get into it, they can also see those hard moments and they can kind of get a better idea of it rather than just being like, I want to be like Annabelle and win this. It's like, well, do you want to be like her when she does these 3-hour runs as well? And then I guess it's really positive. Has it always felt easy to share those negatives when it comes to the hard moments of the marathons and the HYROXes?
Not really. I don't overshare a lot about, say, like personal life and stuff because I like to keep things quite separate. But I think when it comes to training and stuff, I know people like to see that sort of thing, especially with my hair and my stress journey and that. I like, when I was in it, I did not want to post about it. But I think once you're through it, I just want to help as many people as I can. If I can give my own personal journey or my own experience to kind of help and make someone feel less alone, then I will.
What do you think you needed when you were in the depth of that journey that you didn't have at the time?
Yeah, I think you do feel alone, and you just like the stress and the hair and that sort of thing. You just feel so lost. And I think if I saw someone else online going through a similar thing, it would kind of just give me that relatability and know that's, it's not just me. Other people are sharing my struggles. Yeah.
Did you have any hope in that depth of it?
It was just, when you're not feeling like yourself and you just don't know what is wrong. I think I was just so, lost and just confused and was seeking for so many answers and things were coming up short and I didn't know what was wrong. And yeah, now that things are better, it's, it's just awful. I feel for anyone who's in that moment where they feel like they've lost themselves a bit.
And so what were you doing to rebuild when things started to feel a little bit better? You found some answers. What were like first steps? Or if someone's listening right now and they don't know what was sort of the what we're talking about, the depths, can you explain to the listener?
Yeah. So over the past like 2 years, so end of mid 2023, firstly I came off the pill, and then, skin, weight, inflammation just fluctuated so much, and I was like, what on earth is happening? And then at the back end of it and then the start of that following year, I started noticing a little bit more hair loss than normal. And over the next 6 months, I think 70% of my hair fell out. Like I was washing my hair and it was coming out in clumps. I would wake up in the morning feeling so tired, just not be able to drag myself out of bed. I was so inflamed, puffy. My gut was just awful. I remember in 20, what was it? Yeah, last year, I went overseas with a brand and we were walking in the city and I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror in one of the stores and I just didn't recognize the person. I was like, oh my gosh, I need to get myself back. I need to figure out what is going on. And so I ended up seeing a naturopath. We sorted out my gut health and that in turn, cleared up skin and everything. And then realized that the hair loss was cause of stress. Whether that, again, I don't know the exact pinpoint of the stress. It could have been related to, the gut health, relationship I was in at the time, the marathon training, like this whole bunch of things. And yeah, when I started to cut things out or just, sort some things out, I felt myself coming back, the hair loss started and that sort of thing, which is, it's very freeing seeing all that happen.
Yeah. How did it feel when you looked at yourself in the mirror in that reflection and you didn't really recognize her? Just sad?
I just looked away instantly. I was like, okay, cool. I look how I feel. I feel awful and it's reflecting that.
Did you know at the time, like, were you really aware of the fact that you felt awful, or was it sort of like you kind of sweeping it under the rug and then when you noticed you were like, oh shit, no, yeah, actually?
I think I knew I felt off, but looking back now, I'm like, no, I was really not amazing. Yeah.
Was your mental health at its worst then?
I think at the time I didn't think my mental health was that bad, but looking back now and seeing how I felt in that moment, it was probably worse than I thought. Yeah.
So, what's the biggest change right now from now to then in how you live your life? I'm seeing you as someone who's super balanced, super healthy, pushing her limits, but also really aware of recovery. Is that the shift that's really come from that experience?
I think recognizing things in your life that maybe don't serve you anymore or don't bring joy to you, because obviously you are a reflection of the people that you're surrounded by. So if you're surrounded by happy people, then that's going to rub off on you. And I think with your training journey, knowing your limits as well. I think a lot of people, especially with the craze of hybrid training, they see someone online and want to do that and just jump straight into it, but their body's not prepared for that, and they kind of think they can do it all, going from 0 to 100, like I said earlier. And yeah, just taking it day by day, just slowing down when you need to slow down. You don't need to be going 100 miles an hour all the time. If you think you need to sleep in one day, that's all right. You don't need me to wake you up at 5 a.m. every day just because you see that's what people are doing online, especially on the Gold Coast. Like, everyone is up at like 4 or 5 a.m. It's ridiculous. But if you need, that extra sleep, like it's okay. You're not ruining your day by doing that.
Absolutely. And it just comes back to running your own race, like doing what you know is good for you and making choices that make you feel good and not really concerning yourself about what everybody else is doing and how they're getting to their journey, because what makes us happy all is completely different things, right? What's your biggest driver right now for the next when's the next races? You've got, it's like 7 weeks.
I've got one in 3 weeks.
Oh, 3.
Yeah.
So what's the biggest driver for these upcoming races?
In terms of training?
Yeah, like, is it just enjoyment, pushing yourself?
Yeah, I think enjoyment's a big thing. Like, for the end of the year, I've got 6 events or races coming up, and 5 out of 6 of them I'm doing for fun.
Go.
And so I think that's a big thing, not, aiming to put too much pressure on yourself for too many things. Like, I've got the HYROX is the last one, and obviously that's what I'm keen to do well in. But all the other ones, like the marathon I'm doing with my dad, the half marathon I'm doing with my mum again, the turf games I'm doing with friends. So it's just, enjoyment. And also I think that helps with the burnout and something, because if you're not doing so many things at 100%, then you're not pushing your body to limits all the time, and you can actually slow down and not get burnt out.
Do you ever get worried about getting to that place where you were before with the hair loss and the stress?
I do, but this time I've taken on help. Like, I've got a nutritionist, I got a physio, I've taken all these things, and I think I know when my body is starting to feel like that, because I know, I've obviously been through it. So when I start to get like that, I just instantly, slow down, do what I need to do, reset. If I need to have a rest day here, if it's not planned, then I'll absolutely have that.
That's so good. Intuition is so important. Being intentional and being present in what you're doing so that you can listen to your body is like the best thing that we can do for ourselves. So is there anything exciting coming up outside of the performance kind of athletic endeavors? Do you have anything exciting with business?
Yeah, so I'm in the middle of kind of starting a business.
Fun.
Yeah.
Can you share much?
We have a name and
Okay,
we're in the
great.
process of developing logos and kind of like branding and that sort of thing. But it'll be a product or products, but I am keen to kind of make it more of a community thing and do events and
Cool. And so how's your mindset when you go into things like business? Are you taking all the things that you've learnt through your sporting and applying that into the way you see chasing the businesses?
The business aspect is very new to me. It's going to be a lot of learning because I'm learning as I go. I've got no idea what's going on, to be honest.
No one ever does.
No. But I think I had the idea a while ago, but I was just so scared to take the first steps because I just didn't know anything. But again, you got to apply. Like, it's the same thing with fitness. If you learn by doing, and starting is the hardest part. So yeah, it's going to be fun.
Taking that leap. Well, I'm very excited to follow along and see what it is and be a part of it. And so cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I'm really grateful that you've shared all these little insights. I think our listeners are going to get so much value from this. And I think what I've taken away from today is just making sure that you do things because you want to do them and pushing your limits because you want to push your limits and not letting the comparison or the negative self-talk stop you from taking those leaps and doing those fun things, because what you're doing is amazing and you're proving that you can do it all and be healthy and have your hair, which is a win.
Massive win.
We love our hair. That's
Yes.
important. But thank you so much for coming on, Annabelle. Can you share your Instagram so people can find you?
Yeah. So I'm just Annabelle Ronnfeldt, my name, on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. Yeah, thank you
Love
for having me.
that. You're so welcome. And whenever this new products business gets launched,
Yeah.
we can all jump on that. But thank you again. Thank you guys for listening. If you loved this episode, please share it on your Instagram. Tag me, tag Annabelle, and let us know what you liked from this episode. And we'll talk to you next week. Bye.